Well, good morning, and the peace of Christ be with you. So I have a few announcements. The first one many of you have seen is both of my granddaughters are here. My new 6-week-old granddaughter Anya, as well as big sister Kaylee, is here. So they're in the family room right now. So if you see the kids running around, they're mine. The other announcement is we are going to be talking about the parable of the fig tree today. And as I was preparing my message, I got really hungry for fig Newtons. So I brought some, so they're upstairs. So with coffee hour, help yourself if you want a fig Newton for the day with the fig tree. Any other announcements? Yes, Chris.
I just wanted to thank everyone who purchased pizzas and took theirs home and have been enjoying them. We will have a few on sale that were extra left upstairs. So if you need a couple more, please come on upstairs to Fellowship Hall after the service and we'll be happy to get you one. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other announcements? Let's be in worship.
Good morning. Please join me in the call to worship. We come because we seek our God.
God calls us to come. God desires to fill us with overflowing mercy.
We come because we hunger for what only God can provide.
God feeds us with hope, replacing our emptiness with grace.
We come because we thirst for the water of life.
God quenches our souls with peace and restores our lives with joy.
Please join me in the opening prayer. Holy God,
whenever we feel low and spiritually dry, you invite us to come, drink, and be refreshed in your spirit. When in our hunger we chase after worldly things, which only leave us wanting, you do not give up on us. You invite us to come and eat of the food which will satisfy our pangs of longing. When life gets difficult and dreary, and we cannot see a way forward, you offer us a vision of hope. For your ways are not our ways. Your love is as steadfast as the mightiest mountain, and your grace flows as freely as the deepest river. Gather us once again into your heart. Heal us and fill us with the joy of a new life in Christ. Amen. Glory to the Creator, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, three in one. As it was in the beginning, is now and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Sunday morning, Charles. Just going to show a quick video clip of the gal in our brochure that I talked about last weekend. Etta, I believe is her name, and she's going to talk a little bit about some of her difficulties.
On September 20th, 2017, my sister Milagros and I hid in the back room of our home, the only part made of concrete, as Hurricane Maria tore our house apart. When we finally came out, there was nothing left in place but my sewing machine. I have lived in this house for over 40 years. This is my home, my community. I am praying for the means to rebuild. I am Maria Trinidad, and to have my home back, it is almost more than I can ask or imagine.
So, once again, the dollars that we donate to One Great Hour Sharing go to many different ministries, and Hurricane Maria was just one of those that those dollars benefited last year and continues to benefit. I've put up the poster for this year's campaign, which the slogan again is "More Than We Can Imagine," and in this year's campaign, imagination. One of the clips that I read on the website talked about how difficult right now in these times it is to have the imagination to think that we can make a difference. But we can. Every little bit of imagination can go a long ways and build hope for many people. And one of the things that Pastor Gloria and I wanted to talk about too today was how these dollars will definitely help our people here in the United States as well as across seas. And that some of our UCC One Great Hour Sharing dollars will go to help those in Nebraska with the flooding and in Iowa with the flooding. So it's not that it goes just across the waters, but it stays here with us as well in the States. So please consider giving. Thank you.
So it's time for our faith challenge again. You've been challenged for fasting, prayer, and last week we added serve. And there's the posters in the back where you can put a sticky note. Some people have been doing that, of how you've taken up the challenge, how it has fed your life in some way through the challenge. You can keep adding to that as you keep up the challenges through Lent. Now we wanted to give you an opportunity, if anyone wanted to verbalize how you've taken up the challenge to serve. That was last week's challenge, to serve. Anyone have a challenge? This is such an introverted congregation. Because I know you all serve all the time. So I want you to take this moment to just kind of think, how was it that I served this past week? And feel free to put your little sticky note up there, because if there's one thing I know about this congregation, is you do that well. Okay.
So the first scripture reading today is from Isaiah 55, verses 1 through 13. Ho, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. And you that have no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without price. Why do you spend your money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me, and eat what is good, and delight yourselves in rich food. Incline your ear and come to me. Listen so that you may live. I will make with you an everlasting covenant, my steadfast, sure love for David. See, I made him a witness to the people, a leader and commander for the people. See, you shall call nations that you do not know, and nations that do not know you shall run to you, because of the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, for he has glorified you. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake their way, and the unrighteous their thoughts. Let them return to the Lord, that he may have mercy on them, and to our God, that he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and do not return there until they have watered the earth, making it bring forth and sprout, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and succeed in the thing for which I sent it. For you shall go out in joy, and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall burst into song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And then this second reading is from Luke 13, verses 6 through 9. Then he told this parable. A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came looking for fruit on it, and found none. So he said to the gardener, See here, for 3 years I have come looking for fruit on this fig tree, and still I find none. Cut it down. Why should it be wasting soil? He replied, Sir, let it alone for 1 more year, until I dig around it and put manure on it. If it bears fruit next year, well and good. But if not, you can cut it down.
I invite the children to come forward. I know it's spring break, so. Come on, Madison. I think Kaylee might be coming. Come on, honey. Come on, Kaylee. Hi, Audrey. You coming up too? How you coming up? Come here, Kaylee. Kaylee. Come on. You say hi, mommy? Oma? You know, say hi, mommy. Okay. So I have something in here for you. All right. And I got that one. You like that? Okay. gave you?
I don't know what's honey.
Yeah, but what is this whole thing? Do you know what it is? No. Can you do much with it right now?
Actually, I know what it is, but I am not ready to tell.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do with these things. I have another one in here. Oh, my favorite, Wonder Woman. So anyway, there's not a whole lot you can do with these things the way it is in its package. And even if you take it out of its package, see if I can do that. It doesn't look like it has much purpose, does it? Okay? So you know what it needs? What does it need? What do you need to do with this? You know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to go home and put it in water. In water. You have to open it up and put it in water and see what happens with it. For this to come to life, it must drink water. And that's just like all of us. We have to drink water to live, right? We can't go without water. And you know what else God says? That God gives us when we are thirsty, when our spirit's inside, when our hearts are thirsty. God wants to fill us with something like water. He uses water as an example. It's not real water. We don't drink water in order to feel God's love, except to remember water comes from God. But whenever we need, when we are feeling bad or sad or mad, we're lonely, what we can do is we can go to God and God will fill us up and quench our thirst, and we'll feel like we're all better and full of purpose and we have meaning in our life, and we're not just a squished up thing, but instead we can grow and be what we were meant to be. Okay, so let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you for being there to help us to grow, to give us the water of our bodies and waters for our spirit. For this we give you thanks. Amen. Okay. I'm going to take Wonder Woman home. She's my favorite.
I'm going to take this one home.
You are? Okay. I'll see you later, Katie. Bye. Bye. So that fig tree. You ever felt like a fruitless fig tree? That was in Jesus' parable. Kind of lifeless at some time in your life. Just taking up space, not worth much at all. Ever had a moment in your life at that time? Maybe perhaps you were even being derided by others and they didn't see you as worth much. And even try to cut you down. I hope not. But unfortunately, there are many souls in our world who know all too well what that feels like. And then you have the gardener who generously speaks a word of hope for that helpless tree. The gardener sees possibility where others just see fruitless, hopeless cause. And he asks for time to cultivate it and to nurture it, to dig around it and put manure on it, right? Which in my studies is when I started musing. So you mean all those times that I have felt like I have been dumped with a load of manure in my life? That what that has really been has been a way of nurturing me to grow. And maybe God didn't put the manure in my life, right? That's the better word for it. But maybe even in those times, God has found the nutrient in it to help me to grow and to mature and to bear fruit. I learned a little bit about fig trees through all this, because we don't grow fig trees here, do we? I think it takes a much more warmer climate, yes? I found out that fig trees, at least in the time of Jesus, were put into vineyards because they hoped to trellis the vines. And it turned out that the best wine that you could get would be on top of these fig trees. Interestingly, the man who owned the vineyard was upset that the fig tree had not produced fruit in 3 years. But if you read up on fig trees, it takes anywhere from 2 to 6 years to fully mature to bear fruit. So sometimes what this means is we just need to be patient and wait for things to grow and mature in life. And if by chance the tree had once borne fruit but had stopped, it doesn't tell us that. One of the major reasons that happens is in these dry, arid lands is that it's lacking water. The other thing you can notice in the parable is that it is the gardener, not the tree, that is doing the work. Nothing's expected of the tree itself. It is the gardener who will do the nurturing and cultivating. No blame is put on the tree. It only needs a helping hand. God sees the beautiful potential in this tree. And God sees the beautiful potential in each one of us. Sometimes all we need is a little helping hand. So give the tree, let's give ourselves more time. Let God help us along. What a beautiful example of God's generous grace for us. You know, the Isaiah passage too is a word of hope and of grace. 3 times God says, come. It's God's great invitation to all who are feeling bereft or hopeless or forlorn. This passage is in what is known as 2nd Isaiah. Isaiah is written really by a prophetic school of several prophets, and there's considered 3 Isaiahs. This is chapters 40 through 55. It's also known as the Book of Comfort. In this we get the suffering servant. And in this, at the very beginning of chapter 40, we get that well-known verse from Handel's Messiah, comfort ye, my people. This section was written while the Israeli people were being held captive in Babylon. They've been there probably about 50 years. Their temple and their whole city of Jerusalem was decimated. Their house was destroyed, and they lost their country. In fact, their entire life was torn apart. All hope for them was demolished. And some of them believed that they were being punished by God for turning away from God, because there had been the wealthy few who had grabbed power up before they were conquered. They reveled in opulent greed. There had been wide disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and they had turned away from God and God's command to care for the orphan, the widow, and the foreigner in their land. Well, this exile lasted for a whole 70 years. So we're talking about 20 years before they actually leave Babylon. And the prophet is probably now speaking to the grandchildren of those who were first taken captive. And this is the prophetic word. Prepare yourselves to come home. Have hope. Turn your hearts toward God, for God is calling you back home to Jerusalem. And what's happening, that the prophet is saying this, is that Cyrus the Great of the new Persian Empire is conquering lands that Babylon once owned, but had not yet taken over Babylon. And it was known that Cyrus would respect the customs and the religions of the people of their own land. So the prophet Isaiah sees this as a wonderful opportunity of hope that Cyrus will too take over Babylon. And they will once again be able to worship as they had before. And the prophet reminds them in that passage of David, the covenant that God had with David. But he extends it. It is no longer just with David, it is with the whole people of Israel. And he says, nations you do not know shall come to you. And earlier, he says, light, you will be a light to the nations. So all are invited to come. All who are thirsty, all who are hungry, all who have once turned away from God, all those who feel God has abandoned them, they're all named in this. All who are poor, who are in misery, in need of forgiveness, all are invited to come and drink of the Spirit of God, to renew their hope, and to prepare to go out of Babylon and to return to Jerusalem. And in my readings, I ran across this from Daniel Debabas. Debabas, I think is correct. He made note that the Grand Canyon National Park, there is a sign. I don't know if any of you have been there to see this, but the sign says, stop, drink water. You are thirsty, whether you realize it or not. Stop, drink water. You are thirsty, whether you realize it or not. Do we realize how thirsty we are for connection with God? Do we remember that we are truly beloved by God? And that it is in and with God that we find our meaning and our purpose in life? Are we hungry to know God's generous spirit in our own lives? Are we hungry for new hope, for new life? So often we spend our days just working hard, trying to get our daily job done. And all the responsibilities that we feel in our lives. And it gets to feeling like we are a hamster on a spinning wheel, just going around. We work to be productive. We work to achieve all those things that the ads seduce us into thinking we need, and we accumulate more and more and wanting bigger and better. We spend our time and our money on things that do not truly satisfy. We do this for many reasons. Perhaps to minimize our daily frustrations and to have a way of just stepping away from all the stress so that we can have a moment of joy as we purchase something or engage in something. Or perhaps simply to numb the doldrums that we have or distract us from what's going on in our world. But none of this fills us with life. So let us hear God call us today to come. Come to the waters. Come and eat. Come where no money is needed to satisfy your spirit. Come one, come all, come home to me, for you will be restored and you will be renewed. For my ways are higher than your ways. Come out from your exile, whatever it may be. Come out with joy and return home to me in peace. For all creation will rejoice with you. The mountains and the hills, they will shout with joy and song. And the trees of the fields will sound like they are clapping their hands. For all of the sacredness of life will rejoice as we drink of the Spirit of God. For we know what the deepest longings of our hearts really are. Mercy and justice, peace and wholeness, acceptance and belonging. In one word, God's unconditional love. So where do we need the vision of hope today? Because we have to imagine it before we can actually live it. In God, the impossible is made possible because the generosity of God abounds for all of us. Like the gardener with the fig tree, we are to spread this grace to others, to have compassion, to have empathy for others, especially those who have no physical hunger and thirst, as well as the spiritual hunger and thirst. So our faith challenge coming up this week is generosity. To share our generosity of God's Spirit with others. Friends, God welcomes an invitation to all people. So let us go deep into our hearts and find connection with God there. Let us prepare ourselves for the Lenten journey that we are on ahead. As friends, Easter is coming. New life is about to abound. Come home to God. Come and live. Amen. good to see you. How are you doing? Good. Are you all healed, or you still have a boot, or do you have something on your foot still? You got the boot on? Okay. It's really good to see that. Shirley had to go through a second surgery in order to get it to go right. So you've been in our prayers, and we will keep you in our prayers for continued healing. Okay. Mary Sashi. I have prayed for her with you before. She has been living into her dying. That's going to be coming at any time now. The family is surrounding her. So we keep Mary and her family in our prayers. Phyllis Bush is recovering from a broken ankle. And Sandy Toots Ryan took a fall with her cane that has four prongs on it, and she had a hematoma, but she's back home healing from the bruises and whatnot. Megan Vollings, of course, is on our hearts. Megan has had the rod put in successfully from here to about here. Okay, pretty much the whole back of her back and upper and lower back is gone well. She is still in ICU, probably today or tomorrow, going to the neuro floor. She is having some pain, so we will be praying for that, but that's to be expected. But all is going well as the doctors feel for now. I've been asked to share that Megan feels your love and loves you too. Okay. Are there other prayer requests I am not aware of? Bruce?
Sure. Prayers once again for my mother, Betty. She's still with us as of last night, but she is on her journey to be with God.
Okay. Are there others? Okay, let us be in prayer. Loving God, we thank you for quenching our thirst this day here in worship, to know your spirit within and among us. And in the words of St. Augustine, we affirm you have not made us, you have made us for yourself, O God, and our heart is restless until it finds its rest in you. For in you, O God, we find that we come home. Living Christ, you are our divine gardener. It's you who sees endless possibility in each one of us. You don't give up on us. You're not finished with us yet. You're still nurturing and cultivating us that we may mature and grow to bear more fruit in this world of your love. Spirit of the living God, help us imagine the vision that you put before us. You call us to be generous with others as you are with us. Help us imagine your desire for us to build the realm of God by reaching out and extending ourselves beyond these walls, while also offering an extravagant welcome to all who seek community within our church doors. May your call to come be heard by all who find themselves in personal exile. We especially pray today for those who have lost home or farm or business through the floods, from Plover to Nebraska and Iowa to Kansas and Missouri. May your grace be made known to all who do not realize they are thirsty for you. Here are prayers for Mary Sashi and her family, and for Betty and the whole Wesleski family. as they finalize their earthly journey to be received into their eternal home. Surround them all in your peace. And we pray for Megan Bowlings that her healing from intensive surgery be smooth and sure. May your love embrace her as well as Terry and Bill while they're keeping vigil at Megan's side. May your healing wholeness also be with Phyllis Bush and Shirley Ritzmacher and Sandy Ryan and all of us who are in need of your tender care as we struggle in body, mind, or spirit. So hear now the names and the concerns of those who remain silently upon our hearts. Prepare our hearts, O God, as we travel with Christ through this Lenten journey. Fill us with the joy of your promise of new life. Together now we pray as Jesus taught us to say. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Generosity is more than sharing our hearts. It is about sharing our time, it's sharing our gifts, and it is sharing our resources that God has given to us. And we do this trusting in God's abundant generosity towards us, that there is a flow in the giving and the receiving of God's generosity and grace which abounds for all. So let us generously give of our gifts. The ushers may come forward.
Please join me in the offertory prayer. Holy One,
receive this offering as silent thanksgiving for your generous love, mercy, and grace. Bless the gifts that you have given to us, that through each church, all who are searching for your love may find their way to you. In Christ's name, amen.
God is full of promise for you. Feel it, know it, drink it in, and leave this place in joy and return back again in peace. And go enjoy some fig news. And may the hope, the peace, the love, and the joy of Christ be with you all. Amen.